Well, hi there, Internet. My name's Court, and you've got courtside seats for my review of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier Episode 2, The Star Spangled Man. Let's do it. So welcome to my ongoing review series of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Now, I really dug the first episode last week. I had a couple problems with it, but overall I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought this episode was even better. The action was just as good, but it was even more dramatic. It was quite a bit funnier. The acting was amazing. But before I get to my thoughts on this episode, I gotta give you guys all the caveat. This will be a spoilers review. I'm not gonna cover every beat of the episode, but there are specific things that I want to discuss. So if you haven't seen the episode yet and you want to go in cold, go check it out. Hopefully you'll come back later, but this is officially your spoiler warning. Cool? Cool. Moving on. Before I talk about this episode, though, I do have to talk a little bit about the ending of last week's. It ends with, Wyatt Russell's goofy face as the new Captain America. Not that he has a goofy face. He's making a goofy face in that scene. And we see Sam looking absolutely broken. And I decided then and there that I hated this new Captain America. You're gonna make Sam that sad? You. But I love how this episode sort of recontextualizes him with its cold open. We meet John Walker and we see that he's not necessarily a bad guy, just kind of a dude under an enormous amount of pressure. And after this episode, I'm still not sure how I feel about the character. He seems like he's a good fighter, but he seems kind of smug, but it seems like he's a team player and his heart's in the right place. And I dig that he's not clearly a good guy or a bad guy, maybe somewhere in between. I like that there are layers to him so far anyway. And my buddy Chris pointed this out on our podcast this past Monday. If you haven't checked out our podcast, I'll put a link up there somewhere. But he said that Sebastian Stan is really good at brooding, and he's really quite right. And when we first see him in this episode, he's watching the reveal of the new Cap on TV, and he looks both sad and angry at the same time. It was a great little performance, like subtle rage, but heartbreak, but betrayal. I loved it. I mentioned that this episode was quite a bit funnier than last week's, and there was a lot of really great banter. The conversation that Bucky and Sam have about wizards and the Hobbit, that was great. The moment when Bucky jumps out of the plane, lands really hard on the ground, and Red Wing shows up, and Sam just says, I got all of that on camera, right? I laughed out loud in that moment. And this was just funny. Maybe this was just me. When Bucky breaks into the truck to get the hostage, we see all these crates, and they have signs that read Frozen on them. And in my head, just as a little joke, I was like, it's probably shipments of the Pfizer vaccine. Ha, I'm clever. And then Bucky goes, they're stealing medicine. It's vaccines. There it is. And we get the action scene that was in the trailers with the two trucks on the highway, with Bucky hanging off the chassis and Sam saving him from under the truck. And much like the big set piece last week, it was pretty badass, although I will say it did use a little bit more shaky cam than I would have liked personally. But those POV shots from Falcon's shoulders as he was flying, that was awesome. And John Walker and his buddy Battlestar, they get involved in the fight. And I like how they all ended up fighting together because that's what had to happen, even though you could tell like Sam and Bucky were really not into it. And I loved how frosty it got between all of them in the Jeep after the fight. One thing I'm really digging is the way that this show can jump seamlessly from comedy to drama in one sequence. It happens later in the therapy scene, and I'll get to that. But like that moment where the kid calls Sam Black Falcon, and he's like, no, it's just Falcon. The kid's like, pretty sure it's Black Falcon. He's like, are you black kid? Like, that was a great little moment. Sam's charm was on full display. And then they get to Isaiah's place, and that scene got heavy. The writing in that scene was great. And Carl Lumley, who played Isaiah, oh my God, he was incredible. The rage at the end of the scene that left his face absolutely trembling. Like, I was so impressed. I really hope that's not a wrap for him on this show. And last week they did touch on the racial divide and how even though he's an Avenger, Sam still has to deal with that. It was fairly subtle in the last one. It was less subtle here, but it was a great scene. Sam and Bucky get into an argument. They're pulled over by the cops, and both cops are white, and they're clearly on Bucky's side completely, even though it's just two guys having an argument. I found that really powerful. And we get the therapy scene at the end, which again has a major shift in tone. At first, it's absolutely hilarious, like particularly when Sam and Bucky are moving their chairs closer and then having the staring match. Like, I was laughing out loud. These dudes have great chemistry with one another. But then it shifts again to the dramatic, and I love the way that Sebastian Stan delivered that line, if Steve was wrong about you, then maybe he was wrong about me. That's a heavy line, and I really liked it. Then we get the reveal of Baron Zemo, which was cool. And because apparently I learned absolutely nothing from WandaVision, the episode's over, except for like 7 minutes of credits. The only thing that didn't really work for me in this episode was the whole Flag Smashers subplot, their whole plight. There was nothing wrong with it, and I thought Erin Erin Kellyman was pretty solid as Kari. Actually, I believe it's Carly. But he just didn't really capture my attention until the ending. But now I am kind of curious to see where that storyline goes. So those are my thoughts on episode 2 of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Now I want to know, have you seen it? What did you think about it? Which action set piece did you like more? The truck scene in this episode or the Falcon scene in the first one? Whatever your thoughts, hit the comments below. Let's discuss. If you enjoyed this review, please smash that like button and give it a share if you really enjoyed it. And hey, why not take a second, do me a favor, click subscribe and ring that bell to subscribe to my channel for more movie reviews, entertainment news, trailer reactions, Falcon and Winter Soldier, all that good stuff. Hope you guys are all safe and healthy. Thanks very much for watching. I will see you all in the next one. Take care.